Deep in the eastern Mediterranean, on the sun-drenched island of Cyprus, something from the old British Empire never quite disappeared. Cyprus has been a fully independent country and a member of the European Union since 1960. Yet tucked away on its southern and eastern coasts, two distinct territories remain 100% British sovereign soil. These are not leased lands or shared zones. They are the United Kingdom's sovereign base areas, Akrotiri in the west and Dhekelia in the east. Locals sometimes call them the ghost bases, quiet, mysterious British enclaves that feel like they simply refused to vanish when the empire finally packed up and sailed away. And here's the thing. These aren't just colonial leftovers. In 2026, with the US-Israel war against Iran raging across the region, these bases have suddenly become some of the most strategically vital real estate on the planet. They stand like silent sentinels watching over the eastern Mediterranean, the Middle East, and far beyond. So today, let's do a deep dive into their surprising history, what they actually do behind the scenes, how they're helping the United States right now in this Iran conflict, and why they matter so much on the global chessboard. Let's rewind. Britain first got its hands on Cyprus in 1878. They leased it from the crumbling Ottoman Empire to keep an eye on Russia and protect the route to India. By 1914, when the Ottomans joined World War I on the wrong side, Britain straight up annexed the island. It became a crown colony, and during the Second World War it turned into a major Allied base. Fast forward to 1960, Cyprus is fighting for independence. Greek Cypriots want enosis, union with Greece, and there's a messy insurgency. Britain, Greece, Turkey, and Cypriot leaders hammer out the London and Zurich agreements. Cyprus becomes independent, but Britain refuses to leave completely. They carve out two sovereign base areas, about 98 square miles total, or roughly 3% of the island, and keep full sovereignty over them. It was baked into the treaty. No ifs, ands, or buts. Cyprus sits at the eastern edge of the Mediterranean, perfect for watching the Suez Canal, the Middle East, and the shipping lanes. RAF Akrotiri was already a big airbase, and Dhekelia had army facilities. Britain wanted to keep using them as a forward operating post east of Suez without the headache of full colonial rule. In 1974, when Turkey invaded northern Cyprus, the bases stayed neutral. The Turkish advance actually stopped at the edge of Dhekelia to avoid clashing with British forces. Refugees from both sides even sheltered inside the bases. But the borders stayed British, and they still do today. Akrotiri is the star of the show, home to RAF Akrotiri, one of Britain's most important overseas air bases. It's got a long runway, hardened shelters, and it acts like an unsinkable aircraft carrier. Planes can take off, refuel, strike targets across the Middle East, and be back without needing a carrier group. Dhekelia is more of an army and logistics hub, with garrisons from British regiments like the Princess of Wales's Royal Regiment and the Royal Regiment of Scotland. But the real power is invisible. These bases are massive intelligence hubs. Agios Nikolaos Station in Dhekelia is a giant signals intelligence facility. That's SIGINT for short. It's part of the UK-USA agreement, a partnership that began during World War II between Britain and America and was formally signed right after the war in 1946. This is the secret 1946 pact that created the famous Five Eyes intelligence sharing alliance between the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. It's still one of the most powerful and secretive intelligence alliances in the world today. Agios Nikolaos itself is one of Government Communication Headquarters' biggest overseas listening posts, and the Americans, NSA, even help fund half the running costs. That's why locals sometimes joke that the ghost bases aren't really British anymore. They're basically joint UK-US spy central for the entire region. Basically, it's the backbone of the Echelon network, that massive global surveillance system that automatically sucks up phone calls, emails, radar signals, internet traffic, and all kinds of communications from across the Eastern Mediterranean, the Middle East, and North Africa. Think of it as Britain's eyes and ears in one of the busiest and most volatile neighborhoods on the planet. RAF Akrotiri launches surveillance flights, Shadow R1 spy planes, drones, the works. Hundreds of them have flown over Gaza and the region in recent years. US forces have a permanent presence too. Over 100 American airmen stationed there, flying reconnaissance missions and sharing intelligence daily with allies, including Israel. These bases give Britain, and by extension NATO and the US, something priceless: persistent presence without relying on fickle host nations. From Cyprus, you can reach the Red Sea, the Persian Gulf, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and even deeper into Africa or the Black Sea. They monitor shipping through the Suez, track Russian and Chinese naval activity in the Mediterranean, and provide real-time intel on everything from migrant boats to missile tests. In a crisis, they're a rapid reaction hub. Jets can be in the air in minutes, troops can deploy, and evacuations can happen. Remember the 2006 Lebanon crisis when thousands were flown out via Akrotiri. It's like having a permanent forward base in one of the world's hottest regions without the political drama of building something new. This is where it gets really current. The US-Israel strikes on Iran kicked off on February 28, 2026. Iran hit back hard. On March 1st to 2nd, a suspected Iranian-made Shahed drone slammed into RAF Akrotiri. Minimal damage, no casualties, but it was a direct message. Other drones were shot down. Cyprus suddenly felt very exposed. Britain's response? They reinforced Akrotiri fast. 6 more F-35B Lightning II stealth jets arrived in early 2026, joining Typhoons already there. They installed a brand new £17.5 million satellite monitoring system. And yes, the UK quietly let the US use the bases for specific and limited defensive purposes. Think intercepting Iranian missiles or protecting shipping. But Prime Minister Keir Starmer publicly drew the line. No offensive strikes on Iranian territory from Cyprus soil. US spy planes, including U-2s, have operated out of here. The bases have supported logistics, surveillance, and even arms transit in past Middle East operations. In this war, they've been key for monitoring Iranian proxy activity, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthis in the Red Sea, and feeding real-time data to coalition forces. Earlier, these bases quietly powered US efforts across multiple conflicts in the Middle East. Back in 1991, when Iraq invaded Kuwait, Akrotiri stepped up as a critical staging and refueling hub for RAF aircraft, supporting the US-led coalition. Victor tankers flying out of the base made long-range strike missions possible against Iraqi forces. At the same time, SIGINT from Ayios Nikolaos delivered real-time intercepts of Iraqi communications, radar signals, and military movements right across the region. Intelligence that went straight to the NSA and US Central Command. The bases gave the whole coalition an unsinkable forward foothold when carrier groups and other land bases were stretched to the limit. Then came the 2003 Iraq War. Akrotiri once again became the forward assembly point and logistics hub for reconnaissance aircraft, transport planes, and the massive coalition build-up ahead of the March invasion. The base made rapid deployment into the theater far smoother. Meanwhile, Ayios Nikolaos's electronic intelligence, LINT, and communications intercepts fed directly into the US targeting cycle. They helped map Iraqi command networks, air defenses, and leadership movements. Both US and UK forces relied heavily on this Cyprus-based SIGINT for operational awareness from the very beginning, right through the ground offensive. But this is really where the bases truly shone for the US-led coalition, in the fight against ISIS from 2014 onward. RAF Tornadoes, Typhoons, F-35s, and Reaper drones launched straight from Akrotiri for reconnaissance and strike missions over Iraq and Syria. The base hosted sustained air operations that directly supported US forces, including the very first British strikes on ISIS targets at the request of Kurdish Peshmerga fighters. It also served as a key node for coalition surveillance and refueling. Ios Nikolaos's SIGINT was even more vital. Its antennas and systems vacuumed up ISIS communications, leadership chatter, and battlefield signals from across the region, feeding the NSA and coalition targeting pods in near real time. The station played a huge role in degrading ISIS command and control and locating high-value targets. In 2018, the same infrastructure supported those joint US-UK strikes on Syrian government chemical weapons sites. Cypriots are furious. Protests erupted. The government in Nicosia started talks with London about the future of the bases, calling the British presence a colonial hangover that's dragging Cyprus into someone else's war. Over 10,000 Cypriots live inside or right next to the bases, and they feel like targets now. These bases are Britain's last major footprint in the eastern Mediterranean. Post-Brexit, post-Empire, they're a reminder that London still projects hard power. They support NATO's southern flank, give the UK independent strike capability, and act as a bridge for US operations when other countries say no. In the Iran war, they've become even more critical. The region is a powder keg. Energy routes, migration, proxies, great power rivalry with Russia and China. Having unsinkable bases here means the West can sustain long operations without depending on volatile allies like Turkey or Egypt. Economically, the bases bring jobs and investment to Cyprus. Militarily, they're a force multiplier worth billions. Politically, they're controversial. Some Cypriots want them gone, seeing them as a sovereignty issue. But the 1960 treaty makes them legally British forever unless both sides agree otherwise. And right now, with the Middle East on fire, neither Britain nor the US wants to walk away. So next time you look at a map of Cyprus, remember, those two grey zones on the coast aren't just old airfields. They're Britain's ghost in the machine, quiet, permanent, and more relevant in 2026 than they've been in decades. What do you think? Should Cyprus get the bases back, or are they too important for Western security? Drop your thoughts below. Stay curious. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel Typographic Man. Do subscribe, comment, and like.